What I have to say in this Mindset Monday may be a little controversial, and I'm going to show some pretty graphic images as well. So if you're not into that kind of stuff, you may not want to watch this video. Recently, I've seen on the news, and friends have been sending me pictures of Cecil the lion that was actually killed in Zimbabwe by a poacher named Walter Palmer. This dentist from Minnesota shot this lion with a crossbow, killed the lion, tracked him for 40 hours, brought him outside of the reserve, this national reserve where people can actually see him and visit him. He's like an icon, a celebrity lion in Zimbabwe, and then poached him. Over the past year or two, I've been seeing a lot of people poach animals. I strongly disagree with this. I think that when I say we're in this together, I not only mean that from a very human perspective, you and I, but also animals as well. And we need to protect our endangered species. My heart, I can't help but feel it in my heart for this man, that his ego was so vicious enough. And the image I'm using here is kind of like a vicious circle, or the chaos imagery, right? So it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. It starts really small. So the ego, knowing if your ego is in control, is defined by two things. Number one, do you feel superior to others? Number two, do you feel insuperior to others? And if you answered yes to any of those, then you know your ego is in the driver's seat. Because if you feel superior, you're going to make decisions that basically show that you're superior in this world. And it keeps getting bigger and bigger because the ego is never satisfied. It's never satiated. It's endless. So what are some of those things that you and I do on a daily basis that can lead to this cascading of events into something as horrific as killing an innocent lion? Maybe it's gossiping about others, feeling good about it. Sitting at the lunch table with your girlfriends and talking about somebody else that's not even there. Maybe it's buying a purse every month, or rewarding yourself with some type of materialism that says you are worthy, you are worth it. Maybe it's buying that expensive car. I see a lot of people that are now having quarter-life crises. These guys that I graduated with, they made a bunch of money, and then they recognize that that's fleeting, and there's not a lot of reward to it. So at the age of 25 to 35, somewhere in there, they freak out and they wonder what more is to life. And that's the ego. So it's a very tricky thing. If you feel insuperior, you're constantly going to be out into the world trying to pull stuff into you, like to show that you are good enough to be loved. That's I'm not worthy, but I'm going to show the world that I'm worthy. I understand very much so about both of these, because I've struggled my whole entire life to control this thing that we call the ego and recognize it for what it is, the strengths, the stories that it's created in my life that allowed me to leverage my personality traits to create what I want, right? So it can kind of be a good thing. It can help push you over the edge, but there's also that pendulum that cascades up, and if we don't control it, eventually, long term, it can lead you to destruction. And murdering an innocent animal is that destruction moment. It's unacceptable. But to see Walter Palmer and condemn him and judge him and hate him for what he has done, I want to encourage all of us to look at how we're making decisions on a daily basis in the present moment, not living in the future or the past. But what we decide to do every single day, is it the ego, or is it coming from this true, authentic heart space? So the lesson from this story is, and I know it's hard to do, but try not to judge this man, but instead send him love, send him light, knowing that as a human being, he can change, and he has that potential and that possibility in his life to become a better person. But instead of getting wrapped up into those news stories and flooding your consciousness with that, start to look in your own life and ask those questions. How is my ego controlling me? What can I do to break free from this? If I'm feeling insecure at times with my friends, if I have to go out every weekend and maybe have drinks because everybody else is having drinks, and my self-worth isn't high enough to say no to the people around me, That's the ego. Let's start to analyze our lives and start to eliminate some of those ego choices we've been making, going back and get rid of those, so that we can truly help and be effective and contribute to this world instead of taking away from it. Anyway, that's my stance on this, and that's what I'm working on, is to really look at my life and figure out where my ego is in control. And then just asking it to get out of the car. You know, it's no longer in the driver's seat, just asking it to get out of the car. And that I may make better decisions that can help impact and inspire more people. Not from an ego sense, but from a very heart-centered place. So if you want to do this with me today, I want to encourage you to do that. Hopefully this was helpful. If it was, give it a big thumbs up. Share it with somebody that is thinking about this story and maybe a little different perspective. Hopefully I've given you shined a little bit of light on it for us here. Anyway, I'm Drew Canoli. Remember, we're in this together. It's been another Mindset Monday. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next week.